Hello and welcome to a special edition of Starside Chat. Kind of special, I guess. We're talking about next week's episode probably, which will be more special. But I'm Aaron, and with me as always is Zach. How's it going, Zach?
Good, yeah. It's pre-E3, but not
We're
E3.
sort of in it. There's kind of been already one showcase that we're going to talk about in depth, but this is also going to be the episode where we predict what's going to be happening in the week to come. And specifically in Jeff Keighley's like big thing that's happening next Thursday. But
yeah, we're gonna get the predictions out there. It's weird. It does feel like Summer Games Fest has already started because it seemed like almost retroactive that they like added the Summer Games Fest tag to the PlayStation State of Play, which we're gonna go through. But
yeah, we were talking about it. I didn't even realize it was a part of it until it started happening, and there was the little watermark in the upper left-hand corner that said Summer Games Fest. And I was like, oh, I guess this is part of it.
Yeah, it was weird. This last week felt like it was sort of already Summer Games Fest because there were trailers for Pokemon and Sonic, and they released the name of the next Dragon Age game, and then like the PlayStation State of Play happened. It was just like, we're already in it, I think. Like I was like, it's not happening until next week, but no, it's already here. It's already happening. So...
Well, let's dive in. I guess the first bit of news, we have not heard an official, any news from Nintendo about a Direct that could be happening next week.
Yeah.
They love to do it, like announce it the day before. Yeah. So I'm still holding out hope that there will be something at some point next week. But for now, all we've got is that Super Nintendo World is going to open in America in early 2023.
I am excited about this because I love the idea of Super Nintendo World. I really like amusement parks, and it's basically Disney World but Nintendo themed. And like when the one in Japan opened last year, I like obsessively watched people doing videos on Super Nintendo World for like a couple of weeks. I feel like it was it seemed like a long time where I was just like continually watching videos of people like going around the park and riding rides and stuff like that. So get ready for version 2.0 of that, but this time in English.
Toad is Toad.
Yeah, Toad will not be Canopio, which was a new thing I learned.
I'm interested to see, because I mean, amusement parks have come a long way. Disney has been going crazy with like expanding on the technology, I guess I could say.
Yeah.
The one in Japan, you can do little quests, like walking around, and then you get little items and things, I believe. Like there are blocks that you can press that are just around.
Yeah,
and
you have like
you can just come upon them.
You have like an app, and then you have like a little wristband thing that you use to like interact.
So I would imagine similar stuff is going to happen in the America one. I'm excited to watch videos of. Is it in California?
I believe so. Universal Studios Hollywood, so I would assume that's California.
Maybe we'll do a special edition of this podcast from Nintendo World.
One of these days. That would be awesome. That would be like a dream come true. We'll do we'll be the ones making the videos for YouTube going around Super Nintendo World.
So Nintendo still hasn't said anything about next week, but I am still hopeful. But before we get into the state of play, there were other things that were announced in the run-up to this fake E3, including the first gameplay of Sonic Frontiers. They released a 7-minute gameplay footage thing, and then I think yesterday they released it's an IGN first thing, so they're going to be putting out a bunch of videos about it. But they released a little like combat video yesterday, which I also watched.
I didn't see the combat one.
It's underwhelming. What did you think of this 7 minutes of gameplay?
Yeah, the first one that they did, the 7-minute video where you're just sort of exploring the open world, was weird to me. It looked like somebody, like just a random independent developer was like took like Unreal Engine, not even Unreal Engine 5, like a previous version of Unreal Engine, and was like, I'm gonna take this tech demo of Unreal Engine, I'm just gonna throw Sonic in it. And that's what it looked like to me.
Unfortunately, you're right. I read an article somewhere that was basically like, yeah, this looks like Unreal template map 47 or something.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's so close to being something that I'm interested in, because the idea of an open world game where you're running around super fast is great. Like, a great part of open world games is like cool mobility options where, you know, you can jump off of stuff and climb stuff and things like that. And so we haven't really seen one, I feel like, where your mobility is that you can go like 70 miles an hour just running around in an open world. But the design of it is just like generic and not great. It doesn't pop at all. I feel like this is the same. Sonic has done this before. Like Sonic 06 famously is terrible. But I think one of the reasons it was bad is they tried to put Sonic in the real world. So like there are rocks that look like real rocks and like ferns that are like detailed, realistic ferns. And that's not what we want, I feel like. For another thing about it was the music is just this weird piano music that just goes on and on. Like the great things about Sonic were the very colorful, vibrant, inventive worlds with like weird, funny, almost cute-looking robots that when you hit them, little animals came out of them, and also really great soundtracks.
Yeah.
Like every one of those zones is like burned into my brain because I played them so much, and they're so catchy. And this is just like, yeah, like you said, it's like a tech demo of like one guy building out a Sonic game, and there's just like no charm to it. And the combat thing they released yesterday was really underwhelming. It was like all of the combat seems just so slow and floaty. A great thing about other Sonic games is like, I don't know, you jump on something and it dies. And this is like you have to spin around and hit it multiple times, and you're like kind of doing kung fu to it, and the camera like whips around as you're doing that.
Oh, really?
I don't know. It's a real bummer to me because the initial stuff was like, oh, it's like Breath of the Wild, but you can run like 60 miles an hour.
I feel like that's what people thought they wanted when they saw that initial trailer. They're like, oh, Sonic, but like Breath of the Wild Sonic. And then actually seeing that put into practice, you're like, oh, no, this does not look or feel like Sonic. This looks like somebody, kind of like that Superman thing where they just put Superman into that Unreal Engine 5 demo. They just like put Sonic into this generic looking like fantasy setting, and then used like the slow piano music instead of like making it seem like fast paced and like Sonic like.
It's not what we want at all. It's a bummer because if you just like on paper, open world, current generation Sonic sounds interesting to me, but like you really have to execute on the environment, which I get that it's hard because if you're going at it like, they probably were like, oh, you're going to be running 60 miles an hour all the time, so we don't really need to focus on little stuff because you're going to be going slow, so we don't need to focus on like random details. But what you end up with is just a really open, barren, charmless world. And I feel like I don't know, man. I don't think people are going to like this.
I definitely feel like if you're going to do an open world Sonic game, it should be like you should design it to look kind of like the old 2D, like cartoony, pixely graphics, but like expand it to like a 3D open world, where like instead of just having these floating, like disembodied rails to grind on, you have like the actual like loop-de-loops and stuff like that to run around through. Like it should basically look like a giant mini golf thing, just like spread out everywhere.
I agree. I mean, it's like, I feel I saw something, man, somebody released something very similar to that. I'm trying to find it actually. It was like maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, somebody released a tech demo that looked way better than this because it had the like, you know, checker boxes of the old game, the like brown and tan checker boxes were everywhere. And all the textures were very similar to old school Sonic, and it had the good music, and you were sort of just running around, and it was very much a tech demo, but it was like, I'm gonna say 100% better than this in all ways. So I don't know, man. I when they first were like, oh, there's gonna be a gameplay footage of this, I was really excited, but now I'm just like meh on it.
Yeah, I was expecting like for this to be the first Sonic game that I really cared about or wanted to play,
Yeah.
and I am coming away from the previews like very cold on it.
Well, shifting gears to something we probably won't be cold on. They released more content or another trailer for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which I guess is going to be past and future is the theme.
Yeah, so I guess Scarlet is sort of almost a prehistoric theme in terms of like the legendaries, and Violet is like this futuristic, almost cyberpunky type of a thing. And that's reflected even in like the professors. So there are two different professors this time that you're talking to, as opposed to I feel like it's just one in all the other ones. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's a real shift. I feel like I mean, I guess I haven't played them, but there isn't much of a change besides different Pokemon in other like dual Pokemon games, right? Like pretty much the only reason to get both is to get all the Pokemon. Is that right?
Yeah. Basically, I feel like it's the same game. If you get both of them, you're playing the same game. It's just there's different exclusives depending on which one you get.
But this seems like it's a pretty stark shift between the two, and I wonder if they were like, oh, we'll definitely sell more of these if they're like pretty different as far as like plot wise, and you have to get the whole story.
Yeah,
you have to get both games,
which I feel like that's more exciting than like past versions of Pokemon. And also,
yeah.
I wonder if there's any differences in like the landscape as well. Is there like prehistoric areas that you can only go to in Scarlet, and are there like futuristic, more cityscape type of things in Violet or something like that?
I bet that is the case. I bet you'll definitely be able to go to a location, and in one place it is like a working town or something, and then the other place it's like ruins that you can go investigate.
Yeah, because it would seem weird if because they do show in the trailer, they've got these I think it's like shops that you can go to that look like these sort of futuristic looking kiosks basically. Mm-hmm. And if you can go to those even in Scarlet, and it's just like, I feel like that would be a little disappointing. But the other thing about this is that it's an open world in which there's 4-player co-op. So like you and I could join the same world and just go off and sort of explore either together or separately. But it I guess if we both have the different copies of it, I wonder how that would work, which is why I feel like
good question.
Which is why I feel like the world basically does have to be the same in both, which I think is a little disappointing. But
I don't know. I'm interested to see. It's definitely something new, which is exciting for Pokemon. Every time they do something new, it's exciting, like what they did with Arceus or whatever.
Yeah, and this being an open world where they've really done a lot more with co-op this time does feel like a meaningful evolution of the franchise, which I think is good. And they do show off the legendaries towards the end of the trailer. And I've seen online people are joking about the Violet one being kind of a Twig and Two Berries situation, if you look at it.
Which one? So which version are you leaning towards?
If I were to get one, I feel like the futuristic vibe is more my style, but I
agree.
Feel like I like the Scarlet Legendary a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to see. I have not played a Pokemon game ever, so my girlfriend might get this, and I might watch her play one of them. But as far as playing it, actually, I probably will not. Although they did release a couple of new Pokemon, which I like. There's Lechonk, who is a little crying pig, and Smoliv, which is a little freaked out little olive, which people are really liking online.
Yeah, I found it funny, Lechonk. It's like a French pig. Plus, people joke about their chubby pets, like a chubby cat or a dog, calling a chonker. So it's just they're really leaning into that, I guess. But yeah, Zach, I don't know. It has been a while since I picked up Arceus this year, and
that's what I was gonna ask you. Tell me, did you complete Arceus?
I did not.
Can't remember.
I fell off of it, and I did like what they were doing with it. I thought it was, interesting, and they had some good ideas there. But I think maybe I'm just like not as into Pokemon as I used to be. Which,
Really?
so I don't know if I will
What
pick
about?
this up or
Did you
not, but
play
I might.
Sword and Shield?
I did play Sword and Shield. I also did not finish that one, so maybe that's another indicator that I am my time with this series is like maybe coming to an end a little bit. But I still like the idea of it, and like watching this trailer and like seeing the sights and sounds and all of that come back up. It did make me a little bit nostalgic for it, but I
will say
don't know if I will.
I love the
stick with
idea. I love the idea of Pokemon. Like, I like looking at all of them and seeing them do stuff.
Yeah.
Just the actual gameplay is not really my jam.
Yeah, I think that maybe is part of it. Is just like, as far as like, it's made for kids, obviously, but like, as far as if you want some sort of, turn-based RPG, like, there are just like better, more interesting versions of that now. So, but I mean, people have a real attachment to a lot of these characters, and so.
What do you think about that new Pokemon Dreadwolf?
Pokemon Dreadwolf. Yeah, you do have to catch them all. No, this is the Dragon Age 4 is no longer referred to as Dragon Age 4 because they released the official name Dragon Age Dreadwolf, and I do think that would be the ultimate Pokemon. But no, so apparently the Dreadwolf name refers to Solus, who is a character in Dragon Age Inquisition, and it's been a while since I played that game, so I kind of forget how things went with that character, because he is like an ally, and he's like on your squad for most of that game, and then things kind of go a certain way, and I won't say too much about it, but like Solus, I feel like he's sort of the villain of this next one, and so yeah, I'm curious to see some actual gameplay of it. Hopefully they evolve the franchise and the gameplay a little bit. We kind of talked briefly about Dragon Age in our last episode and talked about how like the first one has not aged well. I think Inquisition is a fine game and I enjoyed it, but I feel like even that one has not aged well a little bit. I think they need to, just in terms of like the gameplay, like the characters and the story and the writing, all of that is still good, and I still like the world and the characters there. But I kind of hope they make the rest of everything around it better this time around. And I feel like maybe they are feeling that pressure a little bit just because of how many duds they've had in recent years.
BioWare needs a win at this point. People are pretty anti them currently, I feel. Like, what was the last game they released to acclaim?
Inquisition would have been the last one. And that one was many years ago at this point.
So they really they need to change the narrative, which hopefully they are aware of.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that gives me hope, aside from the fact that this, they've been working on this for a long time, but like this series was the last one to have a win for them. So maybe returning to this series is what they need to sort of right the ship a little bit.
Not to get into predictions too early, but do you think we'll see any gameplay or even a cinematic trailer for this at the game summer? I keep wanting to call it the Game Awards, but it's Summer Games Fest.
I would like that, but I kind of don't think we will, because
Really?
in the blog post where they unveiled this, they said something about how they didn't have anything additional to share right now, but they were planning to share more later, which later could mean next week during Summer Games Fest. I don't know.
It's true.
But later could also mean like this fall sometime. So, but it would not surprise me if at some point this year, even if it ends up being later this fall, if they were to do a trailer and be like, yeah, this is coming fall 2023. Because I feel like it has to be pretty far along at this point, even though they've really not shown any gameplay or even like a good trailer, a teaser of any sort. But they've been working on it for a long time, and when they pulled everybody off of Anthem, they were like, okay, it's all hands on deck for Dragon Age. So I feel like this has got to be pretty close to getting a release date.
Yeah, we'll see. It will be interesting to see. I would love for them to have a win, because I have a lot of nostalgia for classic BioWare games, but yeah, I mean, I never picked up. I know you played Anthem for a little bit of time, but I think the last BioWare game I actually purchased was Mass Effect 3. So it's been quite a long time since I bought something that was BioWare that I was excited about. So I guess we'll see what happens. But
yeah, and like I said, I liked Inquisition, so I'm hopeful for Dreadwolf that it ends up being good. So
should we dive into the state of play, the first press conference of Fake E3?
Yeah, so they started off, I feel like this was a dream come true for survival horror fans, because they started off with the Resident Evil 4 remake that's coming to PS5,
Yes.
Maybe PS4 as well, I forget.
I don't know about that. I think it might just be next gen exclusive.
Be PS5. Okay,
Yeah.
and they did also say it will have some PSVR 2 content, like that's in development as well. But they gave a release date of March 24, 2023. So I feel like a lot of people are excited about this. Resident Evil, like every time something Resident Evil pops up, everybody's like, ooh, I love this series. So it's not...
4 gets a lot of love. 4 was released... I think 4 has been released in different versions like 10 times.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 4 is fully playable in VR on Quest 2, which people have said is a great way to play it. Where did it really... I think it originally come out on the GameCube?
I believe
was its
so.
original?
Yeah.
And then since then it's been released for everything. But this looks like a complete reimagining. Not complete, but like complete overhaul. It's not just like refreshing the graphics.
Yeah.
Looks like they're adding new stuff to the story as well.
That was my impression as well. So they're doing a thing kind of with all of these games where they're just revisiting them and remaking them. And I wouldn't be opposed to more franchises doing this.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is what Final Fantasy VII did, basically.
Yeah. This is what I wanted them to do with the original Mass Effect trilogy instead of the remaster. I mean, the remaster is great, but I would not have been opposed to them like taking their time and doing like a full-on remake of the original trilogy.
I would have loved that. That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
The first like 10 minutes of this was all VR stuff. So like they were also like, hey, we're getting Resident Evil Village is getting PSVR 2 content, which I'm sure everybody is super jazzed for because people like that lady.
Yeah.
Horizon Call of the Mountain is looks to be a pretty AAA PSVR 2 title that's coming out, where it seems as though you have to climb. The main pull of it is to climb to the top of this mountain, and you have like encounters with robots or whatever. But climbing, I know, is like a pretty compelling thing to do in VR. There's that game, The Climb, which people are very into. So taking that gameplay loop of like finding, like pathfinding upward and like looking at giant vistas behind you,
yeah, that would
is
be
a good
pretty
idea.
cool.
I think.
Yeah.
They said No Man's Sky PSVR 2 that's going to be available. So yeah, a lot of PSVR 2 stuff, but no release date or price for the PSVR 2 at this time.
Yeah, they didn't talk about the hardware at all. It was just like, here's some games that are coming to PSVR 2.
I thought that they would announce, we talked about maybe last week, but I thought they might really go all out and say like Half-Life Alyx is going to be available on PSVR 2.
Yeah.
And I feel like that could still happen. And we may even see that at Game Fest, because I think Valve is a partner at Game Fest. Wouldn't that be crazy? But yeah, I thought it was a pretty solid showing as far as, I think they said they're going to have at least like 20 games upon release for PSVR. So PSVR 2, I should say. But yeah, I was into most of these. Most of these look, I mean, I'm not really a horror guy, but
No Man's Sky was the one that stuck out to me. I was like, if I were to revisit that series, like doing so in VR would actually be like really cool, just based on the concept of the game of like you're exploring a planet and then you get in your ship and then you fly out into space and like fly over to another planet and land and get out and explore with no like loading screens between. Like that would be really cool in PSVR.
It's very compelling. Then they showed something I was sure was a new Dead Space, but it turns out it's
That's
not.
That's what I thought too.
Callisto Protocol, which looks like very interesting survival horror.
I do
set
remember
in, like,
them releasing a trailer for this, like it must have been a couple of years ago. And nobody was sure what it was, but yeah, it's a very Dead Space inspired like survival horror game that's sort of sci-fi-ish, I want to say. Like you even like I think the character has like a green bar or something on the back of his neck, sort of similar to the way in Dead Space your like health bar is represented in that bar that goes vertically down your back. So I feel like maybe they're doing something very similar, just like instead of a vertical bar down your back, it's a horizontal one across your neck.
Groundbreaking.
Yeah, exactly.
It looks very next gen. Like the graphics look good. So I don't know. What was the last survival horror game you played? Do you think you would pick this up if it got good reviews?
Probably not. Survival horror is not really my thing. I did play Resident Evil Village. I didn't finish it, but I thought what I played was cool, but like that feeling of like you're trying to run to a door because you know somebody's chasing you and you're just trying to fit the key into the keyhole while like your hands are shaking because you know this big bad evil monster thing is like a couple steps behind you. Like that feeling, like I can only take so much of that before I need to take a break. And so like I played through the castle section of that game and defeated Lady D in the boss battle, and after that I was like, you know what, I think I'm good on this. So like if I played this game I would probably not finish it. The other thing that nobody seems to be talking about is this is coming out a month before the Dead Space remake. So
really?
It's like heavy duty survival horror, like one right after the other. It almost feels like they were like, I know everybody's excited about the Dead Space remake coming in January, but we're going to drop our very Dead Space-like horror game the month before.
It is interesting timing.
Let me double check that release date, but I'm pretty sure they said Dead Space remake is coming in January.
Something else they showed while you're looking that up, Spider-Man, the PlayStation Spider-Man is coming to PC. I think Miles Morales is also included in that bundle. So that's exciting. I never got around to playing that, but I always wanted to.
Mm-hmm. January 27th is the release date for Dead Space Remake.
Okay.
So, yeah, pretty close together.
Pretty close. It's going to be, I feel like next year is going to be the year of releases, I got to say.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's getting pushed back.
We thought that about this year based on everything that was pushed back out of 2020. 2021, and then now everything this year is getting pushed back out of this year and into next year. So I feel like, next year, hopefully we don't do the thing again where we're like, oh man, can you believe what a crazy year 2022 is going to be? And then everything gets pushed out and they're like, okay, well, we just had
It is funny that like our like most anticipated games podcast that we did in like December or whatever, it's probably going to be very similar to this year because nothing is out yet.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember talking about how like all the games that they were like most anticipated at the Game Awards last year, it was like Elden Ring, Horizon Forbidden West, Starfield, God of War, and sequel to Breath of the Wild. And only Elden Ring is and Horizon is coming out this year. Everything else got pushed back. Or I guess we don't know about God of War yet, but
soon enough.
Soon.
Rollerdrome. Do you care about Rollerdrome? This looked fine to me.
I mean, it was a cool art style, and it has sort of like story-wise, it has sort of a Running Man vibe. But yeah, it's basically like third-person gun combat while like roller skating, which I guess is
it's like
interesting.
like Tony Hawk, but with guns, kind of.
Yeah, and everybody was comparing the art style to that Sable game.
Yes, it did look super. It's that weird, like very vibrant, cell shaded type of thing.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think I'll play it, but kind of a cool art style.
Eternites, also something I was just sort of lukewarm on.
Yeah, anime art style. Guy loses an arm, but it's replaced by some glowy arm that can turn into a sword. And then there's like a bunch of other characters with special powers, and they called it an action dating sim. Like, so interesting, but not maybe for the reason they wanted to be interesting. I don't know. Also, it was only shown for PS4. Supposedly coming early 2023. Not really? I guess not a PS5 version. I don't know.
I did not catch that.
Yeah, it was weird. They like, you know, they say like they have like little text on like one of the corners of the screen. It's like PS4 and PS5, or shown on like PS5 or whatever. Mm-hmm. They said shown on PS4. So I don't know.
Huh. And then Street Fighter 6 was a big reveal that I think neither of us are super into.
Yeah,
but
we're not big fighting
Street Fighter's
fans,
a big game.
But yeah.
Now this is, in addition to being a fighting game, it seems like there's also an open world element to this.
Yeah, I was confused a little bit because it seemed like they're sort of leaning into like, go back to the roots where it's like fights on the street. So it's a little bit like, you know, this is underground. Instead of like big tournaments around the world, this is more like, you know, underground Fight Club style thing. And they did show off, I guess it was like this hub area for like online matchmaking, I guess, that you can see. I don't know. What stood out to you about this?
So there was a Mortal Kombat game that I don't remember the name of, but it was I believe it was a mainline Mortal Kombat game that I played through the story of, because it had a story mode where you were just some guy and you like traveled around the world. It was open world, and you traveled around and you got into fights with each character, and you aged, and there was a button you could press to just like sit down and meditate to like change the time.
Do you mean there was, I wonder, like, if it's gonna be similar? There was an overworld and you were just like navigating to different fight areas, or it was like actually open like, world?
Yeah, it was like third person.
Oh, interesting.
Your name was like Shinjuku or something. I don't remember. But it wasn't like it was a new character who was just sort of a guy, and he had this story where he went around and was becoming stronger and was fighting all of the Mortal Kombat people. I don't remember the name of it. But I wonder if it's going to be like that, where, I mean, you can get into like the just versus mode, or there is this mode where you're just a dude who is going around and your story takes you to each person and you go to their like zone or whatever, and then you fight them and then the story progresses. That's what it seems like to me. I don't think it's going to have super deep like RPG mechanics or anything, but it seems like there will probably be a character creator, which is cool. I don't know. I'm not really a fighting game guy. If I was going to play a fighting game, it would probably be something in the Guilty Gear. I used to be really into Guilty Gear when I was in high school. And the new one looks super crazy, but very hard to play is the problem.
Yeah.
More of a Smash guy where I just have to know like 4 moves.
That's why I liked Dragon Ball FighterZ a lot. Like that was sort of the last one that I played. And similar to Smash, it had like very simple to learn like control schemes for like all the characters, and cool art style. They like did a really good job with the like making it look like the show, and had kind of a story thing going on with it as well. So I liked that game quite a bit, but I don't see myself picking up Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, I might watch someone play it, but as far as actually diving in, unless the open world is interesting.
The last Street Fighter I played was Street Fighter 4 on 360 when I was in college. Oh, wow. So
then probably the thing I was most excited about is we got another trailer for that Stray game, which I'm definitely going to pick up, and a release date. It's coming out July 19th for PS4 and PS5, and I think PC as well.
Is it also PC?
Maybe I'm wrong about that. But I will definitely pick this up on PS4 if I don't already have a PS5.
It is also supposed to be available at no extra cost for PlayStation Plus subscribers. But
yes.
Yeah, I don't know I'm so confused on their tier system, so I don't know.
They are trying to do what Game Pass is doing. They're just so bad at
Yeah.
it. So I'm also unclear like what tier you need to be at to just get this, but I'll probably just pick it up by itself. But I'm super into this game. I'm very excited to play this. What about you?
I still don't know what it is.
It seems like it's mostly exploration, maybe puzzle solving. But the world just looks so cool to me, and I love cats in general.
Yeah.
So
Is it an
I'm excited
RPG or
to-
is it just sort of like maybe like third person inside style game where you're like
I think it is. It is like an inside style. I don't think there's going to be sort of like character progression or like gaining skills or anything. I think it's pretty much just you walk through an area. There's a puzzle to get to the next area. You saw like a Little Nightmares kind of a thing, but in 3D.
okay. Yeah, that might be cool.
And then the big finale. Even though this was only 30 minutes, and I feel like it started and finished in no time.
Yeah.
They had a big finale, and it was Final Fantasy 16, and there it is. What do you think about that? I have to say, just initially, I like Final Fantasy. I've played 7 and 9, but I don't know about this one. I don't super like Game of Thrones or like court intrigue and things like that. So I don't know how into the like I guess main idea of this I am.
You prefer the more like futuristic as opposed to the more like old fantasy style Final
I
Fantasy?
don't know. I mean, Final Fantasy 9 was not super sci-fi. It was more like castles and things. I mean, I guess there were robots and like airships, but this seems very much just like swords and sorcery, no guns or anything. I don't know. What did you think about this?
I kind of was into it. It seems like you get to maybe play as the summons.
Yeah, I'm unclear on that, but it was weird because also sometimes it seemed like a fighting game. Like
Yeah.
both people had health bars at the top, and it was kind of 2D.
Yeah, it almost looked like kaiju battles where you like summon in like what's his name? Igor. I don't know what his name is.
Ifrit.
Yeah, and there was like health bars along the top, and it had gone to sort of like a side 2D view, and it almost looked like, I mean, it could have just been like a cutscene of some sort where the camera was swinging around, but if that was actually, how the game plays, like it could just turn into like a 2D fighting game for some sections.
I don't know, because like definitely there were other parts where the combat looked more in line with Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is great, and I love the combat in that game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't get excited for this for some reason. I really don't like old school like court intrigue stuff where there's like a war going on.
I think I am into it. Like I will I will pick this up and play it. It's coming summer 2023 was the sort of release window they gave. I agree. I prefer like more futuristic stuff, but like I can get into
It's not maybe even the futuristic thing. I'm like Final Fantasy 9, for instance, was set kind of in the past, I think, but all of the character designs were very interesting. Like you could be like that little black mage guy, and you had that like fat little knight that followed you around, and I think there was a cat person. This all just looks like a bunch of dudes with like wearing like 10 layers of clothes. And I don't know, it doesn't like jump out to me. There's no Kate Sith cat in this,
Here's a thing. So Final Fantasy 15 was dudes in cars or in a car. What if this one's like dudes in like an old timey wagon of some sort?
I mean, if you have the dudes in cars thing was interesting to me just because it was weird and everybody was wearing leather for some reason. But I don't know. Taking away the car, that was like the most interesting part of 15 for me. Not that I played it, but I don't know about this. It's highly anticipated. I'm interested to see more, but I also am not sure if this is one that I will check out. I'm more interested in old school and Final Fantasy VII Remake, but I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I kind of wanted them to show something about the next part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, but with this one coming out pretty soon, and certainly before the next part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, they definitely want to focus on this, so we probably won't see anything on that until after this comes out. But
yeah,
it was pretty cool. I thought this show overall needed at least like
give it a rating.
one more thing, like something else.
Yeah,
they needed.
How would you rate this?
I'd give it a B, maybe. They needed like something about God of War in here. They needed like a released window at least for God of War, whether it's on track for this fall or whether they're pushing it back to 2023. They just needed something there. They did a couple other things that we don't have in our show notes about this. Tunic is coming to PS4 and PS5 on September 27th. I thought that was going to stay exclusive for Microsoft, but I guess it is coming to PlayStation. And then they did talk about some DLC, an update for Horizon Forbidden West that is bringing transmog and skill reset and an ultra hard difficulty and new game plus, along with some new trophies. And that came out as soon as they unveiled it, so you could download that right away. So little stuff like that. I kind of wish they did have something big to like. I guess Final Fantasy 16 was their big thing to cap the show off, but I'm always looking for one more thing. So
I wanted it to be longer also.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was like 28 minutes or something.
It's weird.
And
it did feel short for what is their Summer Games Fest state of play, you know? Like,
yeah,
it felt like this could have been dropped, any other time of the year as a normal state of play, as opposed.
It didn't feel special.
As opposed to the special Summer Games Fest version, But
well, Diablo Immortal came out this week. Did you play it or
I did download it. I've heard it's actually pretty good, and that you can actually get quite a bit of gameplay out of it before you even like start. Well, not necessarily before you start encountering the microtransactions, which of course everybody's like, this game's actually pretty good, but there are like, since it's free to play, there are like microtransactions, and that sucks. But people are actually somewhat into it seems like. So
it's interesting. Yeah, I'm anti it just because of all the predatory practices and like them trying to. I read something that was like, you can lose items that you paid for if you don't log in every day.
What?
But I don't know if that's true. But I am the anti. There was the old this was the thing that happened at BlizzCon. Everybody remembers.
Yeah.
Where that guy was like, "Is this an April Fool's joke?" And so I'm anti it for those reasons, just because I'm anti. I guess I'm not anti mobile games, but I'm anti this type of mobile game where.
Well, so here's
like,
the thing. Let me
day.
try to pitch you on it in this way. We've played Pokemon Go, and there are certainly microtransactions in that game, but you can pretty much play that game all day long without even opening the shop or giving any thought to the microtransactions. Now, I haven't looked at them personally because I started the game, but have not, like, I maybe made it through the intro. So I don't know how aggressive they are about, like, as soon as you log in, here's a pop-up of, like, all the microtransactions right in your face. Like, I don't know if they're doing that or not. I do think there's going to be like, oh, here's your login bonus. Here's this, here's that. Check your inbox for like some other stuff you can claim or whatever. But I don't know how much they're going to be pushing the shop. If they are as sort of out of the way as they are in Pokemon Go, would that make it more interesting to you?
Maybe. I also don't super like playing things on a touchscreen, I have to say.
Yeah.
It's the old person in me.
It is on PC as well.
Really?
Yeah, so it's a cross-platform thing. I don't know if it's planned for consoles, but I think maybe you can play with a controller. Again, I have not tried this, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think maybe you can like use a controller if you're playing on PC, in which case it seems like an obvious release for the Switch. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it can run on a phone, it can definitely run on a Switch.
Yeah, exactly. So This is, I mean, I feel like people would rather just have Diablo 4, but
Yeah, 1,000%.
but it's weird. It's also sort of like an MMO. So I'm not sure what they're planning to do with that. And it's going to get a lot of support, I guess, or you would think. But it'll be weird when they have this running simultaneously with Diablo 4. Because that's an eventual thing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'll play much more of this. It did make my phone extremely hot when I was playing it. So maybe trying to not melt my phone down while playing this thing, maybe I will at least wait a while before I check back in with it. But
let's dive into some Games Fest predictions.
Yes.
I have a top 5 predictions, and I know you have a ton of predictions.
I just put a whole bunch of stuff down in a Google Doc so we can go through it.
So mine aren't in any particular order, but do you want to go back and forth until I run out of stuff and we can just do the rest of yours?
Sure.
All right, what's your first one?
Let's see. I guess I'll start with Microsoft Bethesda. I am saying they're going to unveil that streaming stick and make a push for cloud gaming and that higher tier of Xbox Game Pass.
Okay, I could see that.
Yeah, which I think is exciting. I think it's a good idea. Although, I was thinking about this the other day, actually, and I thought maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe they should have just done whatever they could to get an app, and maybe they will still do this, but just get a Xbox Game Pass app out on Chromecast and Fire TVs and TV, TV, smart TVs and other set-top boxes, so that people don't when I turn my TV on, I just want to use my NVIDIA Shield TV and use the Android or the Google TV apps. I don't want to have to switch inputs to a Microsoft branded streaming stick that only does Game Pass stuff.
I agree.
So I guess there's that, but it makes sense for them to have a version that's their own for people who probably don't necessarily have a Fire Stick or a Chromecast. But also, I think before they release this, they should also have just a Game Pass app for other set-top boxes. And the other thing I think about and worry about is the controller and controller latency with a thing like this, because Stadia is very good in that regard because their controller is not a Bluetooth controller. It is a cloud controller that connects directly to the Stadia servers. So they've really cut down on latency. And they could cut down on latency with just the regular Xbox Series X controller that's connected via Bluetooth. They could make that better. But I do worry about latency with that.
I agree. I think I think it's very alluring for them to think oh yeah, let's make this cheap Chromecast thing we can make for $10 and sell for $40 though, is the thing.
Yeah. Plus it'll be much easier for people to get their hands on as opposed to a Series X.
So I don't know what their plan is, but I think you're right. I think that we will see something about their streaming service, and I think that could be really big.
Yeah, well, and now that we know what PlayStation is doing for their subscription service, I want how does Microsoft redirect the conversation back to Game Pass? And this is probably what they can do. So what's first on your list?
All of mine are about Keighley's main thing.
Okay.
So I didn't have any predictions about the Bethesda or the PC Game Show or the Wholesome Direct or anything like that. First prediction, Alf is going to make an appearance.
Yeah, I mean, they've had the Muppets, so it would make sense. Is Alf making a comeback?
I don't know. He is on Twitter now, and so I feel like they're going to try to make it a thing. Everything is coming back.
It's true. Especially from that era.
I could totally see Jeff Keighley being in our next presenter. Actually, I don't even know if they're going to have presenters. It's not the Game Awards. But I could see him being to intro this next video, here's Alf.
Alf and Ninja will be there.
That would blow my mind. That's my first prediction. What's your next one?
So much to our dismay, Bethesda will split its limited time between showing Starfield and Redfall, but it will be gameplay for both, and they will unveil the collector's edition of Starfield with pre-orders going live as of the unveiling.
That is interesting. I hope that is true because I think I mean, we're 100% they're going to show gameplay footage of Starfield, right? There's no way they don't do that, right?
I feel like they will at this point. Everybody's been waiting for so long. They've just been putting out those little vidocs of like,
even though they pushed it back, they have to show us gameplay.
I feel like they were working on something for Summer Games Fest, like some sort of vertical slice that they could show during Summer Games Fest with the planned release for this fall, and then they had to push it back. But maybe they just go ahead with the reveal anyway. Just whatever they had.
I feel like they have to.
Yeah, so that I'm hopeful that will be the case. Maybe they pull back on some of it and they don't go like the full deep dive, but have something there. Plus, their collector's edition sort of already leaked a little bit with that watch. So just show the whole thing, put the pre-orders up, and we'll be good to go.
My next prediction, Keighley is not just a video games guy. He loves all media. And so that is why he will show the first gameplay footage of the Avatar game.
Ooh, yeah, I think you're right about that. I do think that Avatar game will make an appearance during Summer Games Fest. So,
because that movie's coming out at some point. It's coming out in like November or something. We got that trailer for it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I feel like we're primed as a society to get the unveiling of the gameplay as well for this new. I don't remember. I don't think this ties into the movies at all. I think it's just an Avatar story, a Pandora story. But I feel like we could definitely get like maybe even like a vertical slice of that gameplay where you like. Here's what I see. Like maybe this is even the first thing they show is just a forest. And you're like, all right, it's an interesting forest. And you see like a weird bird, and you're like, oh, I guess this isn't on Earth, maybe. And then you see, you know, what are those? What are they? A Na'vi.
Yeah.
Come up, and then it does the thing where he jumps up onto a thing, and you see his like the hero shot, and then the camera pans around or spins around, and you're behind him now, and it's third person, and now you're in the gameplay of something, and you like catch a fish or something. I think that could definitely happen.
Do you remember that there was an Avatar game that came out with the first movie, and it was like terrible, and everybody hated it?
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, there was one. It must have been 360 PS3 generation, but yeah, that came out and I think was not good. Not well received. So hopefully they do a better job this time.
Hit me with that next prediction.
I guess I'll skip around so mine are not all coming from Microsoft Bethesda, and then we'll come back around. So I'm going to go with during, well, I guess it won't be. I was going to say during Sony, but Sony already happened. I'm going to go ahead and say Persona 6 gets announced.
Whoa.
So I love Persona 5. I loved Persona 5 Strikers. I feel like between them, you know, it's been enough years, and I feel like there's been some like rumor articles I've seen for Persona 6, but I feel like it's been enough time. They already did that like side story with Persona 5 Strikers. I guess they could still do like a different Persona thing, still using the Persona 5 cast, like some sort of dancing game or like a fighting game like they did with, what was it, Persona 4? Mm-hmm. But I'm just going to go for the full thing and say Persona 6 is going to get announced. And I hope it does because, yeah, I like those games. Hit me with your next one.
Keighley is a showman, and he is aware. He watches the audience as things play out. And so I think he is aware of what people want. And so I believe we will get extended gameplay and a release date for Doka V.
Ooh, yeah, I forgot about that game, but yeah, that will probably show up.
I think he realizes that it's weird and people were super into it when that first trailer came out. And so I think he would try hard to get that on his stage and to get a release date for it. And because do we even know, is it going to come out on current gen consoles or is it just next gen? Or do we just know from the trailer? Do we know anything besides? Because initially people were saying it was multiplayer and then they rolled that back and they were like, no, it's single player. Um, but we don't really know anything about it except for that awesome trailer that they showed.
Yeah, I feel
And
like that's
so
all we know at this point.
I could see him being like, "Here's Doka V. I got the characters from Doka V on stage with me.
Yeah, instead
Here's
of
some
a
Doka
pot
V."
from Elden Ring, this year it's going to
Yeah,
be the Doka V characters.
yeah. I could see that happening, and I think that would be great.
That would be fun.
Hit me with your next one.
Uh, okay, so this may not be fun, but during Nintendo's Direct, they're gonna,
Which is not announced yet.
which is not announced yet, they're gonna play a Mario movie trailer.
Ooh, I'm interested in that. I could see that happening at Keeley's thing.
Yeah, that's true as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be at Nintendo, but sometime during Summer Games Fest, whether it's like part of Nintendo's Direct or it could be Summer Games Fest, I think we might get a trailer for the Mario movie.
Now, definitely things are still being announced. Like even today, Devolver Digital was like, "We're also doing something," and they released one of their crazy videos. So they're doing a Devolver Direct, I think directly after Keeley's thing on Thursday. So Nintendo could still say like, "Hey, we're also doing a Direct." I'm very hopeful that they will. I think you're right. I think it is more likely to be unveiled in a Nintendo Direct as opposed to Keeley's thing. But I think you're right. It is forthcoming for sure because it's coming out this Christmas, isn't it?
I think so. I think it is later.
Or did
this
it get
year.
delayed? I think it got delayed actually.
Oh, maybe it did. I'm not sure.
I think that's a solid prediction.
Did you have any more?
Yes, I have. I added one as we were talking.
Okay.
So I have three more. I think we will. We're going to see the first gameplay footage of the Wolverine game by Insomniac.
Ooh, yeah, I think you're right about that as well. I was thinking about that. I didn't put anything in my notes about it, but yeah, that one's definitely on the table, I think.
Because they're not really. I mean, they had the Spider-Man stuff at the game or at the State of Play, so we know that's like kind of on the back burner. But I feel like the Wolverine game, we haven't seen anything about it except for that one like 30-second cinematic we saw where we didn't even see his face. I could see us definitely getting a little bit of gameplay for that. Maybe I would hope gameplay, maybe just another cinematic trailer, but I would hope some gameplay for Wolverine.
Yeah, it could be a little mix of both. I think between Wolverine and Spider-Man, I'm more interested in Wolverine. So
Yeah.
I would be more hyped to see a trailer with actual gameplay of that game than whatever the next Spider-Man one ends up being. So yeah, hopefully that happens.
What's up next?
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and say Bungie unveils its new IP.
Whoa.
So
That's crazy.
we know they're working on something other than Destiny.
Yeah.
And we know that, I don't know for sure whether they plan on going with that original 10-year timeline for Destiny and just I guess calling it quits and closing up shop, once that 10-year mark hits or not. But I feel like they're getting close to that mark. And so they gotta have something else in the pipeline. We do know they're working on something else. So maybe this is when they unveil what that is.
That's interesting. Yeah, I haven't even heard there hasn't been any kind of leaks about what it could be about, I feel like. So
which is exactly why it would be a huge get for Summer Games Fest.
I agree. I think that would be super cool.
Yeah. So what else you got? What's your next one?
I think we'll get a release date. I should have Googled this to make sure there isn't already one. But I think we'll get a release date for Somerville. that Play Dead,
Oh yeah.
or it's not Play Dead anymore, but I'm super excited for that game, and I would love for them to say like, yeah, coming this September, it'll be coming out for everything, including Switch.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I'm into that as well. So hopefully we do get a release date for that.
What's your? And then I have one more that's a big one. But what's your next?
That I know exactly what it is.
No, I don't think you do.
Okay, well, so my next one, I'm gonna go with that rumored Donkey Kong game gets an announcement.
Ooh,
So
that would probably be at a direct.
yeah, so I do think we'll get a Nintendo Direct, and
I do too,
if they do one, I'm gonna go with Donkey Kong is the next game in line to get a big Switch release, because we've got Mario, Zelda, we had a Metroid, we've gotten Kirby this year. I guess Kirby's already had a Switch release as well, but it's time for Donkey Kong. And so the rumor was that the Super Mario Odyssey team was working on a 3D Donkey Kong game. And
ooh, man.
So if that ends up being the case, I feel like that has the potential to be one of my favorite things shown during Summer Games Fest. So
that sounds amazing.
I'm very excited to see that become a reality.
I'm into it.
Hit me with that next one.
It's kind of out of left field, but I think it's likely. We haven't really talked about it, I think, on the podcast, but I think they will reveal the release date for Silk Song.
Whoa!
Is that what you thought I was going to say?
Yeah. I even considered trying to undercut you by saying that like just before you did, but no.
I don't know what I would have done if you would have been my next if you had said that your next prediction was Silk Song. I would have been like, oh, that's yeah, I think so too. I don't know. I think this will be revealed at a direct. I think Sony Nintendo has locked down this. I don't know if I don't think it's exclusive for Nintendo, but definitely the first trailer we got was a Nintendo trailer for it. So I don't believe that it would be at Keighley's thing. I think it would definitely be at a Nintendo branded thing, which hopefully we will get that Nintendo Direct. But if there is a Nintendo Direct, I think it will make an appearance there, because we talked about it a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, but there was that thing in the at the Unity Awards where they won Most Anticipated Game, and then they said in their acceptance letter, like, we thanks all the fans for waiting. We can't wait to show you the game. Surely it can't be that much longer. That last little sentence, that surely it can't be much longer, I think is indicative of them imminently releasing the game. And so I could see that being at a Nintendo Direct. Or if there is no Nintendo Direct, I don't know. I couldn't see it really being a Keighley's thing, but if it is, that would be amazing. And that is my last prediction. So let's move on to the rest of them that you have.
Okay, so let's see. What else did I put in here? So I think that they did say Ubisoft won't have a show, but they may have one like later this year. Which I think really sort of throws off Mario and Rabbids, that new one. So I mean, maybe if they do a Nintendo Direct, maybe that's where they show it. But I do think we will get a release date for later this year for that game. Mm-hmm. It could even be sometime this summer, even. To avoid,
they've been working on it forever.
To avoid like clashing with Pokemon, they might do it like as like an August release or something like that.
I'm definitely gonna pick that up.
Other Nintendo ones, I think we will see a Dragon Quest 12 trailer, because they already did like a teaser for that. I think I hope that there's some sort of update on Metroid Prime 4, but who knows?
Yeah.
I don't think it's likely, but I would like to see an announcement for the next full Fire Emblem game. I know they've got that like Warriors style one coming out either this month or next month. But like Three Houses was very good. I like that game a lot, and I feel like it's been enough time now that they could release the next full one, but also like pandemic has like thrown dev cycles way out of whack, so who knows.
Yeah, for sure.
I also sort of already said this prediction, but I think Nintendo will go ahead and reveal Game Boy Advance games coming to Nintendo Online, along with the Switch Sports DLC that we know is coming this fall. And then so the Game Boy stuff I'm hoping will be added to that lower tier along with NES and Super NES games. And then the Switch Sports DLC will be on the higher tier with N64 and like Mario Kart DLC and Animal Crossing, that kind of thing.
That makes sense to me, yeah.
So the stuff I wrote down for Sony, even though, so we can see what I was wrong about on Sony's. So I said that they would give the release date for God of War Ragnarok, but that it will be next year.
Yeah.
I know people are saying, oh, it's got to be a fall release because it was already rated in South Korea. So maybe that's the case, but I'm being pessimistic. So, and then I thought that they would maybe announce Ghost of Tsushima 2. They did not do.
Whoa.
They did not do that, but I would have liked them to do that.
That would be crazy.
I also thought Sony would be where we would get the Bungie new IP unveil, but maybe that's Summer Games Fest.
Yeah, I don't know. I think. Wait. I don't remember the whole saga with Bungie. Did someone buy them again, or are they still independent?
Yeah, Sony bought them.
That's right.
Which is why I thought this would be the spot where that would happen, but maybe not. I also thought that that Sony's State of Play would be where we would see Persona 6 announced, just because they've been exclusive with Sony sort of in the past. But maybe this is the other side of the prediction is that Persona 6 is multi-platform instead of being tied exclusively to Sony. Because
I have a prediction.
Everybody wanted Persona 5 and still wants Persona 5 on Switch. So maybe...
Yeah, that is a perfect match and made in heaven.
Yeah.
Here's a prediction.
Okay.
We'll get the first DLC information about Elden Ring at Keeley's thing.
Yes, that was another thing I had written down, that Elden Ring will have DLC coming this fall. And Keeley will definitely be the one to unveil it.
Do you think the pot will come back on stage?
I would like it if they did that, but I feel like they already did it once. So, but I guess what else do you do with a giant pot? You got to find some use for it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like,
you can't use it to store stuff.
Exactly. And then the last thing I thought we might see at Sony's was Kojima announcing Death Stranding 2.
I believe that's Kojima. There was a picture that Keeley posted, I think, or maybe it was Kojima posted of him talking to Keeley on a Zoom chat, and so I think it is extremely likely that there will be some appearance by Kojima at the game. I keep wanting to say the Game Awards at Summer Games Fest.
Yeah, so it could still happen, just didn't happen during Sony's thing. So it could happen at Summer Games Fest.
I think it is. I think for sure.
It does seem that if he was going to announce Death Stranding 2, he would probably go to Keeley because they're like best buds at this point.
Yeah.
So other stuff I had down for Microsoft Bethesda, I said Hellblade 2 gets a release date. I said Avowed gets a trailer but no release date. And then Outer Worlds 2 gets an actual trailer this time with like a general 2023 release date. Hopeful. Yeah. And then maybe we see stuff about Perfect Dark, Fable, and BioShock 4.
BioShock 4, that's interesting to me.
So it would be awesome if they had any one of those, but Hopefully.
I'm
all
very
of them.
curious to see what Perfect Dark. Does it have a subtitle?
I don't know.
Maybe it's just Perfect Dark. I'm interested to see how that could. How that's evolved. We only have that one cinematic trailer where it seemed like weather was going crazy on Earth or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
So,
I don't remember it, to be honest.
I mean, the thing that was great about the first Perfect Dark, it was like a better version of GoldenEye with way more interesting weapons, and you could dual wield stuff, and there was a hover bike. And I don't know. How do you put that into modern game mechanics?
I'm pretty sure you could dual wield in GoldenEye.
Could you? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think you could. But yeah, it would be cool to see whatever they've got for the next Perfect Dark.
I would love to see that. Yeah. So our plan is we have taken some time off from our taxing jobs. And so we'll be watching at least Keely's thing live. And then we'll probably record directly after that. So look forward to much coverage in this coming week about hopefully every one of the press conferences. Maybe we'll do that old Battle Royale thing again where we have to pick a winner.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, let's do that.
Previous years. But it's an exciting time. It's the best time of year. Even though there isn't actually an E3, Keely is kind of resurrected, so we're excited that it's happening.
I'm very excited. Yeah, it'll be definitely fun this next week, and maybe we will have to do what we've done in the past, where we actually put the recap videos up on our YouTube channel as well. So
could have some good shows. So gotta say, they keep adding them, so there's even more to watch as we speak.
It's true, yeah. And yeah, do you have any? Are we wrapping up here?
Let's wrap it up. Yeah.
Do you have any parting wisdom?
Take time off for video game stuff.
Yes.
If you are able to take time off to watch a press conference or to watch. If a game is coming out on a day at midnight, take the next day off because it is more important than your job.
Unless it's an online game, just allow for the fact that the first night you're probably not going to be able to play. And take maybe the next day after that off. So
that's a good idea.
If a game comes out on like a Thursday night, don't take Friday off, take Monday off.
That is actually the best parting wisdom, I think.
That's all we've got. Go ahead and follow us at Starside Cafe on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube, and we'll catch you on the next one.
We'll catch you very soon. Goodbye.
Goodbye.